Wow, we have some really important remaining questions about what exactly the ESU people were doing leaving their post right around the time of the Trump shooting. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Chris Martenson, back with a scouting report. We're going to put this back into a normal sort of a format like this. So I'm back to off the white slides, back to my scouting reports, because it is time for me to begin turning my attention to lots of different things as well as this shooting. So let's go on with this. We're going to have to wait for more data to come in before we can really make further judgments about whether there was one shooter or two. We need more video evidence. We're going to have to look at that. For those of you who are confused by my stance from going from two shooters for sure to maybe not, here's how I roll. When COVID first broke out, I was told early on that it had an infection, not a case, an infection fatality rate of 3.5%. That is really bad. That's like Spanish flu bad. So I was going with that until I got more data that said it wasn't that way. And we just go back and forth. And as the data comes in, we adjust. So we still have very, very large anomalies that have to be explained about the auditory differences between shots 1 and 3 and 4 through 8. That string of 5. So we're going to hold that, but we're going to need more data to come in. We're going to need people to release their raw files so we can be certain that we're not dealing with artifacts or potentially manipulated evidence that either somebody's done because they're just having some fun with us, or because it was skullduggery from officials who are querying the investigation. We don't know, but we're going to need those raw files. Again, we're putting the call out. Please get us the highest quality video and audio you can so that we can begin to make more sense of this. Now, back to this real quick. Senator Ron Johnson, he released a timeline, very important, because at 4:26, right, Crooks first gets on the radar of local law enforcement. So I just want to set the stage for this. So 4:26, he's on there. 5:10, they spot Crooks again, and 5:14, they take a picture, the first of two pictures. Click, click, click. 5:30, people are notified. 5:32, somebody else observes Crooks on his phone using a rangefinder this time. 5:38. They're sending messages back and forth about this. 5:40, the sniper there, the American Glass Research Facility, AGR Sniper 1, is told to call into the command center. And then 5:41, they call into the command center. So there's lots and lots of attention on Crooks. Now, this is one thing if you just got one person and you're trying to track hundreds out of a crowd of tens of thousands, right? That's a challenge. I get that. But let me just set the stage here real quick. This is what we're talking about because there were two fence lines. We're just talking about people on the inside of the fence line to the north of the Trump rally. So that's the AGR facility. There's a fence there. You saw with the chain link and the security tape, right? People aren't allowed to cross through that fence. So this fence is a pretty good barrier that says Crooks is on this side of the fence, the north side. He's the only guy we have to worry about. So just mentally, like, add up people in this video. What do you see there? 10, 20, 30... maybe another group of 30, 60,
on the roof. Look.
65.
There he is right there. Right there, see him?
Let's be generous. There's somewhere between 80 and 100 people over here. Yeah, about that. I mean, it's hard to see as they're going back and forth here, but it's not thousands. Honestly, I did my level best to screen by screen and check through this. And yeah, 10, 20, 30, 40, 80 to 100 people. So that's what we're dealing with here. And as well, we can see here just a little bit earlier than that was taken. This is the horse lady riding around. And again, just to set the stage that we are not trying to find Crooks from among even hundreds. There's maybe 20 people-ish in this video up there to the north of that other view we were looking at. So let's be generous. Let's add all 20 of these people to those other 80. There's 100 people we have to track Crooks around. This couldn't be simpler because there's only one skinny dude in glasses with a gray shirt, so it raises some obvious questions. Now, carrying on, we note here that Secret Service, their sniper team lead, is notified at 5:45, right there. Let me get my little dot tool out here. So at 5:45, we actually have, Acting Director Rowe, who did a horrible job in front of Senate the other day, confirmed that Butler County Sniper sends the Secret Service counter sniper team leader a text with an image and description. And at 5:53, the counter sniper team leader for the Secret Service emails that sniper team that local law enforcement is looking for a suspicious individual outside the perimeter lurking around the AGR buildings. At 6:03, mysteriously, that's 10 full minutes later, President Trump is allowed to take the stage. 6:06, well, I don't have evidence of this. I'm going to have to look for this. So Paul Abate says, video shows Crooks pulling himself onto the AGR building rooftop. I have not seen that video, so I can't wait to see it. If you have it, let me know. For sure, I've seen the video of him running across, which is this one at 6:08 by James Copenhaver. So we have 2 minutes here where we can't account for Crooks. He's obviously on the roof doing who knows what up there. And then, of course, we have all the action after that, which leads to shootings and things like that. But it was lots and lots of time to get Trump off the stage. And now let's turn to, this is kind of an interesting finding here. The CYA is strong in this case right now, and I get it. This was a monumental error on the part of somebody, and local law enforcement has some egg on their face, obviously, but so does the Secret Service, and so hence the finger pointing.
But the Secret Service, he showed a window that was maybe there. Right here,
exactly,
looking out to the roof.
No, that's not where we were assigned. We were assigned over here in those first 2 windows.
So he's wrong about the assignment.
Absolutely.
I think the biggest thing to not lose sight of is, their job was on being on the outside unsecured perimeter, looking inward at those, that had already gone through security.
The local officials told Fox this was the view their 2 snipers had. You can see here, this is a different warehouse window than the one Rowe referred to on Capitol Hill. And the vantage point is at the ground level looking into the crowd and not onto the roof. Those who lead the local snipers say if the Secret Service had told them to place their snipers on the roof, they would have. Acting Director Rowe says he takes responsibility for what took place here. And he says moving forward,
who cares what Acting Director Rowe thinks? So it's true that Secret Service has complete command. They tell everybody what to do. There's a pecking order in law enforcement. There's a hierarchy. These guys roll in. Their stuff doesn't smell. They got the suits on. They tell you what to do, and locals have to just sort of follow along in that command structure, very much like the military. So Secret Service has site charge. That's what they're supposed to be in charge of here. And so what happened? Well, first, we understand now because we've seen pictures here that out of this window, we know that. So we just heard this gentleman with the goatee say that we weren't assigned that. We were only over on these 2 windows here. I'm not sure which 2 windows because we have a picture out of this window down here. We also know that they took a picture of Crooks out of this window, and I can show you a picture that has to be taken from out of this window. So I think they're on this side of things. But we have more questions because we have to ask questions about why these other windows were open if they were really only in charge of this end of this room. I'm not sure how they got that point of view. So you saw him in that video. He's looking at this picture. We can place that. That's this picture from the Grassley materials. This looks pretty ground level to me as well. You might notice something important, which is if you were going to try and shoot out of this window, you've got a chain link fence. You've got people in the way. The stage would be a little bit higher, so this is all showing how sloped this land is. It's a lot more sloped than some people think. It wasn't flat. And then the stand would be here, but still you would have things in the way, depending on which window you were shooting out of, if you were shooting out of a lower floor window. Now, what's interesting is in their after-action battle report, this is what the locals are saying, oh, but our snipers only had this red cone field of view coming out of that lower window right there. That's all they had. Well, also, we should note that they also have a window that cranks open not all the way, and it's kind of in the way entirely. I mean, it's a 45. Nobody would try and shoot a bullet through a 45-degree angled window because that first bullet's going to deflect pretty hard off of that. And then, what are you going to do? Keep shooting through a cracked window till you get your man? I mean, it doesn't make sense. This is a really poor sniper position. And if you are just observing, why even have the window open? I mean, the only way you could get a shot off here is if you had that little slice between where the window's open and not in your way, and you're going to shoot through a screen too, you would have this little tiny shooting lane, even worse than the one they're describing here, because this window is in your way. Why not just have it completely closed? And then people don't know you're there, and then you're even more secret in your sniper position. As well, they showed us this picture. This has to be from the second floor, because look how high up we are. You can clearly see here, if you were going to look straight, your eyes would be up here in the tree, not even with these people down here if you were going to look straight out this window. So this has to be a second floor window. The only one that fits is this one right here. By the way, this one faces all the trees that were over here. We saw all the people taking their pictures and videos from down there as they were looking at this roof line up here on the other side. That's where Crooks was. As well, we're going to notice something. there are also 3 windows open on this south side. And we know that from this video that these windows were actually open at the time, right immediately before the shooting. That's when this is from video by Greg Smith. He was the red-capped, red-haired guy who said that he saw Secret Service or snipers up there. Sorry, snipers.
In this video, we see a man talking to someone who appears to be a police officer.
There's a police officer being talked to there, like, yeah, he's right up there.
That while Trump was speaking, they'd seen someone on the roof.
But we can see here as well, these windows are all open. So the first question we have is, who leaves windows open facing a president? That seems, everybody I've talked to said that is not how this works. If you had a gun barrel sticking out of that, I guess because you're a sniper, but even then it doesn't make sense because somebody could come in with a silenced weapon, suppressed weapon, take you out, and then take over your gun position, and nobody would know until it fired that you were a baddie, right? So the whole idea is you really don't leave, you don't shoot out of windows if you can help it. So all those windows should have been closed in any normal, competent sort of arrangement. Now, as well, we know that the expected area of operation for the ESU should have been right here. That's not the left 2 most windows, like Goatee guy was saying there. They have here on the pre-planning report that was put out, again, this comes from the Grassley materials, everybody's locations are known. ESU, Beaver, and Butler County are supposed to be here confusingly. Later in that same report, they also say Butler and Beaver assets are supposed to be here on the roof, actually, although it's a little vague, because down here they say Secret Service is on the barn roof, right, behind the main stage. So that's very clear. They're on the barn roof. Over here, it just says that the AGR complex over here, the location, 10S3 code name, they're supposed to be here, but they're right on the roof. Butler and Beaver are supposed to be on, they indicate them as being here on the roof that Crooks was on. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. So this is from an ABC report. This is when, remember, you saw that they had the 9 ESU agents there, and they all kind of morosely, especially Greg Nickel, very morosely sitting there trying to explain what happened. And we're going to focus on Nickel here for a minute because, quote, when Nickel observed Crooks' suspicious presence and called it into local command, which was totally appropriate thing to do, via radio, he said he expected action to be taken. Like, I don't know, uniformed officer would check it out, according to text messages between snipers on the ground, which were obtained by ABC News. So we have those as well. The first thing I did, I sent those pictures out. We had a group text between local snipers that were on the scene. I sent those pictures out to that group and advised them of what I noticed and what I'd seen. And there was a text back that said, call it into command. So then I called it into our command via radio. They acknowledged, received. I assumed that there would be somebody coming out to, to speak with this individual or, find out what's going on. Nickel moved through the building trying to shadow Crooks. So he's got movement through that building. He's trying to shadow him, see where he's going, and keep his eyes on him. But Nickel lost sight of Crooks. This keeps saying Nicole from here on out, but it's Nichol, typos here. But Nickel lost sight of Crooks as Nickel made his way down the building's first level. So he's moved out of that second level. So we know they were on the second level. They didn't just have that first floor like that Fox News thing tried to claim. They're on the second level. And of course they were. There's open windows up there, right? So Nichols made his way down to the building's first level. And by that time, Trump had taken the stage. Then, as the former president began speaking, Nickel noticed rally-goers looking away from the podium and up toward the roof of the building. Now, we don't know where Nickel is at this point in time, but he's on the first floor. Or maybe he's outside, but we don't know where he is. But suddenly he notices people looking up to the roof. Now, at that point, he ought to have known exactly how to get to perfect oversight position because there's open windows up there. He's looked out those windows before. That's his position. He's got free access to that building. He's going from the second floor to the first floor. He's taking pictures on the second floor. He's moved to the first floor. Going back up to the second floor should be easy peasy. It wouldn't take more than, I would imagine, 20 seconds to go from that first building right under Crooks to run into that, through the causeway, up some stairs, come out to that window. It wouldn't take long if you were hustling. Shouldn't be all that much time. Nichols said he was almost relieved, thinking to himself, oh, they must have found the guy they were looking for out there, and everybody's watching the police deal with him. He would soon discover that wasn't the case. Yeah, 2.5 minutes later. That's when I heard the gunshots. Nichols said Crooks had opened fire on the campaign rally. And fun fact, the SWAT medic whose helmet cam we see in the helmet cam for all that roof stuff, that's actually his wife. That's Michelle Nickel. I don't know what that first name is. All right. So this is kind of interesting. So from the Chuck Grassley materials, we have all of these texts and everything. We can see them going back and forth. They identify, I believe, misidentify that this is the picnic table that they had seen Crooks at. Later on, they identify him at a different picnic table. I'm going to go with a later one for other reasons, I'll tell you. But here we can see these are the two pictures that were taken and sent. So we know that they were onto this guy. Now, I want to remind you at this point, there's only like 100 people over here. This is not like some big giant throng of people and we're losing them in some crowd at a crowded airport. It's just, that's a messy situation from a movie. There's like 100 people over there. One of them is this guy. So that's why I think we're seeing some scrambling, because like, how do you lose one kid around the building who's acting all totally sus and is getting seen over and over again? Clickety click. There he is, right? So as of 5:38, though, when that picture was taken, snapped, and sent, we know that ESU, Greg, probably, is still in the 2-story building on the second floor. There he is, okay? And so now they're talking about a bike and a backpack. Is that it? I don't know about the bike and the backpack, because we also hear that Crooks had a van. They called it a car for a while, but then later it looks like a van that had explosives in it. Don't know about that yet. So I'm not sure if this bike has anything to do with anything. But what's interesting here is that at just 2 minutes and 45 seconds after the shots come out, what do we have here? 14 law enforcement officers suddenly appear, and this is from the Dave Stewart video. So he's around the side. None of these 14 people did not all pile in through that fence gate. That hasn't even started yet, right? That starts at about 2.5 minutes in. You start getting people starting to pile through that. And maybe closer to 3 minutes. But here we are. They must have all been inside there already. And by the way, this is Greg. Here's Greg sitting here. He's got a Nike shirt on, looking a little cash. But which doors could he have, this other person allegedly that he said he had to go let back in? It's a little mystery why he went back downstairs. 2 sets of stories. At any rate, here's the guy. There he is looking a little like, at that. He didn't look that comfortable to me in that ABC interview. He's like, And by the way, let's not forget that helmet cam, I won't replay it again, but helmet cam person is talking to Secret Service red tie guy here. And at one point says, oh yeah, see these pictures that we're looking at here on my text? Yeah, those came from Greg. Greg, just walk up the roof line and yell into the window because Greg's in there. So they're already establishing that you just walk up this roof line, there's an open window, and Greg will be found right in there. So now we have an explanation for why we have 3 open windows on that side, because somebody was in there. We know that there were 3, then 1 went home early, I guess, and then we had 2, and then we had 1, and then we had none. That's the story we have to go with. So when we looked at this earlier on, this is like from a week ago, so new details revealing officers, left post to look for Crooks before the Trump shooting, and the state police absolutely chucked these guys under the bus when we had that testimony by Paris, the spokesperson for the Pennsylvania State Police. He said, quote, I'm quoting from this article, 2 local law enforcement officers left a building with vantage points overlooking the roof where Crooks took aim at the former president before he fired shots, Paris testified. He said that 2 officers with the Butler County Emergency Services Unit, ESU, a tactical force with sniper capabilities, left their posts in the building. Now, this is what I know about this. I was talking with a friend of mine, Tom, a police sergeant out of Philly for many, many years. He said, look, in his experience, when you are posted somewhere, you don't leave, right? And he told a story about one time he's on a shift. It's night. He's driving along, and there's a uniformed cop just standing there forlornly at an intersection, rolls down and pushes his window down, says, hey, buddy, what's up? And this guy said, I think my unit disbanded and went home, but they forgot about me and they left me here. And he was on some sort of duty, traffic duty, got left there, and he just stood there for a few hours until a random sergeant, Tom, drives up and says, relieved. And then he could go home, right? So people don't just leave their posts for no good reason. So carrying on down here, well, they shouldn't at any rate, not with good command discipline. Paris said, quote, so this is Dan Bishop said, quote, so you were saying then, to your knowledge, those ESU officers left the location where they could look out the window to go in search of this person? So that's from Republican Representative Dan Bishop, North Carolina. Quote, "That is my understanding," Paris said. There you go. End quote. All right. So that's really, really, truly incredible. And Benny Johnson went to the site, visited the whole thing, got a scoop, claims, quote, "The information comes from first-hand source of highest credentials," and had a video of the site, and then said here in this tweet, quote, "The Secret Service is responsible for stationing all protective teams for the president. Local and state law enforcement officers go where they're told." True. The snipers in this location should have easily been able to engage Crooks before he ever came close to the scope site of Trump, and yet Crooks was able to fire that day without anyone engaging from this position. Why? Well, the answer is total and complete incompetence from Secret Service. Benny's saying here, there was a 3-man sniper team, SWAT sniper team, located in this position. One member of the team went home early. Not sure how this was allowed, but it happened. I think that was around 4 o'clock, 4:06, if I remember right. The remaining 2 snipers positioned in this room were notified of a suspicious individual, or actually they notified of a suspicious individual, because they were really the ones doing the notification here, as I understand it, was lurking outside the building. One team member left his position to investigate, leaving just one sniper oversight to the roof. I guess that would be Greg. Why did he leave? Why would you leave? We saw there's at least 14, 15 law enforcement down there. There's only 100 people outside. How hard could this be, right? I mean, hey, could one of you 14 people, let's say 2 or 3 of you, just go take a tour and look for this guy, please? And if you can't, like the only reason I would think you could leave is because you're trying to call through and you don't have, like, your radio's dead. You can't get anybody. Like, something's happening. It's like a movie. Like, oh no, I have to go do this, right? Carrying on, Benny said, quote, "The investigating team member found nothing out there, and in the process of returning to his position, realized he'd forgotten his access card into the building, and the last remaining sniper with Overwatch left the position to retrieve his team member locked outside." Time out. How about you say, listen, can you call one of the other 14 people who are in the building? Because they must be in the building, because they're not around the building. But as soon as the shooting happened, they all pile out, stop playing cards or whatever they were doing. Get out of their cars, stop listening to ZZ Top or whatever they're doing. Like, we don't know, but they for sure, like, there are other people there. Like, the idea that Greg had to leave his position to go down and let this guy in, it just doesn't hold water with me. Something's really wrong with his story. But maybe he wanted to come in a different door, and he would have had to walk all the way around, and say, "Greg, can you just come let me down?" But the timing here is super suspicious. It's very hard to make sense of. Carrying on, quote, "Crooks crawled across the roof and fired on Trump, while this fully equipped sniper nest with a perfect view of Crooks' assassin position was left completely unmanned. Obvious infuriating questions would include who was running command that allowed this fatal tactical error, who gave the order to abandon post, good question, how was there not an officer on the roof who could engage Crooks directly, why was there not overwatch from the water tower, a far superior position than this, etc. Good questions as well. When Greg left the room, did he leave open windows and those sniper weaponry set up there? Like, was this just like now an undefended position where somebody theoretically could have gotten up there and just said, "Oh, wow, sniper weapons, tactical vantage point, open windows"? I mean, it just absolutely defies belief that this is how it went down. So when we look at this after action report from the Beaver County, the FPOTUS, the after action, this is redacted again from Charles Grassley. You see here when we get started, the first picture of suspect taken at actually 5:14 here, first observed at 5:10. So we've got this guy's actually on the radar screen, even according to Butler, for a long, long time. And then we're sending texts here, and then we're responding to texts, and we're calling into command. And then whoever 4 Sierra 2 is, their call sign to command communicated description and rangefinder lurking around the AGR buildings. 5:45, we got text sent back and forth. We got communications, lots and lots of communications. At 6:05 approximately, suspect at picnic tables. Suspect is spotted at picnic tables and moving in direction of Sheetz, which is a gas station that down there where Dave Stewart happens to work. And he has a backpack. Okay, so says here, also at 8:05, Butler sniper stayed in place at original position. So I don't know which Butler sniper this is referring to, but here at 6:05 on their after-action report where they're labeling everything. They say, well, here's the last time the suspect was noted, and this is their direction of travel. It was the direction of Sheets, because Sheets is over here. It's also the direction of several access points to the roof. This is at 8:05. Remember, we have that other Abate, whatever, talking and saying that there is a 8:06 video of Crooks clambering up the roof. That would fit. He's here. And then he's here, clambering on the roof a minute later. That all ties. I don't know how it's possible that you could see him here, lose sight of him as he's heading towards a back nook of the building. You've had alerts about this guy. You've been having texts about this guy. Somebody, I don't know who it was, but somebody was seen. Somebody in law enforcement said, suspect noted at picnic table. And I'm not sure if they meant it 8:05, but that's when they noted it in their series of pictures. They first put that suspect noted at picnic table on the 18:05, the 6:05 o'clock piece. I don't know, but they're still noting here that we have two snipers here. They're in the building. This one, I think, is the first floor, but they have somebody here noted at 8:05 on the second floor there. So what's interesting, at 8:06, somebody redacted goes downstairs of building 1 to meet patrol. Let them know suspects around the building on the side of fairgrounds. I don't know what to make of that, because we just noted he's not on the side of the fairgrounds. He's on the side of the Sheets thing. So how all of a sudden are we sending people to the side of the fairgrounds? I don't understand that, because that's not the community. Do these guys have radios? Do they talk at all? Do they have, like, suspect at picnic table moving towards the back of the building where the easily clamberable AC units are located out? I guess he's towards the fairgrounds. This obviously is a hot mess. This, maybe it's just a bunch of CYA action, but it needs to be resolved, and it needs to be resolved soon. All right, with that, I have to talk with my subscribers back at Peak Prosperity now about what's going to happen next. There's so much going on. Listen, the markets are cracking right now. We think there's going to be a next attempt, obviously, on Trump's life, because we don't think this is the end of it. My full summary of this at this point in time for everybody out here is that this stinks to high heaven still. There's something very, very wrong with this story. The timing is, we have to believe that ESU abandoned their post just literally the minute he's crawling into view. It was like, oh, peace out. Going to go downstairs for a couple minutes. Oh, crack, 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 crack. Got to run back upstairs. There were 3 snipers, then there's 2, then there's 1, then there's none. I don't get it. But at a minimum, even before then, that roof line should have never, ever been left undefended. There should have been people on that roof. And local is saying Secret Service did not tell us to be there. If they had, we'd have been there. Secret Service absolutely can't explain why they put 2 sniper teams so darn close to each other where they have effectively overlapping footprints, and one of those teams had a completely occluded view of the spot where magically Crooks ended up, and that was the team that had sector responsibility for looking north. The other team was looking south. So this all just begins to piece together very, very poorly. At a minimum, gross incompetence all around. Lots of firings should ensue. At a less than minimum statement, we would say, because Trump was such a hated character, or for whatever reason, he got purposely sloppy coverage. Moving up the chain, it was worse than sloppy. It was intentionally bad coverage. And moving up the chain, Crooks actually had help and assistance and notification from somebody as to when the right time was to get on the roof so that he would not be spotted because people were out of position. So all those theories are still in play, and we're going to wait for data to help us resolve through those and parse through those. But that's all I have for now. We'll see you next time. And for everybody else, come on back to Peak Prosperity. We got some really important things to talk about what's coming next. Everybody else, bye for now, and keep the information coming. Thank you very much.